Hello and welcome to a new episode of Around the World in 7 Days. My name is Neil and I am here with the stories behind the most important international news events of the week. First of all, we will discuss the new episode of tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Then we will talk about why referendum for the independence of French outpost of New Caledonia in the South Pacific. In the end, we will cover the recent democracy summit hosted by the Biden administration and why it has raised a storm in the global geopolitics. First, let us begin with Russia-Ukraine dispute, which has spilled over and has brought the most powerful countries and blocs of the world on the brink of an open conflict. If you remember, in one of the episodes of this program, we talked about the Russia-Ukraine feud. Let us go through the summary of whatever that was told earlier. When Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union handed over Crimea to Ukraine as a gift. However, after the disintegration of Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine also got independence, and since then Russia had set its eyes on Crimea, which had become part of the new nation state of Ukraine. Finally, in 2014, Russia invaded Crimea and took it under its control. In this conflict, around 14,000 people were killed, and since then the relation between the two countries have remained tense. Since then, the danger of a full-fledged war has been looming between these two countries. Before we talk any further, let us understand the geographical location of Ukraine. Ukraine is a country located in the east of Europe. It shares its border with Russia in the northeast and east. It is bordered by Belarus in the north and Poland, Slovakia and Hungary in the west. Romania and Moldova lie to the south of it. Now let us come back to the story of the present conflict. Ever since Russia annexed Crimea, a cold war has been going on between these two countries. In the last 7 years, Russia has gradually raised a large gathering of troops on the Russia-Ukraine border. According to a report, 1 lakh Russian troops are deployed on the Ukraine border along with tanks and artillery. It is being claimed that by the end of January, this deployment may go up to 1.75 lakh, and then Russia may attack Ukraine. But this is not going to be easy for Russia because NATO and G7 countries, including America, have warned Russia of dire consequences in case of such adventurism. The G7 countries have clearly stated that if Russia does not abstain from its antics, then serious economic sanctions will be imposed on it. The European Union has also announced sanctions on Russia, and America is repeatedly warning Russia and is trying to make sure that there is no war. However, Russia is putting forward some conditions in lieu of providing a commitment that it will not attack Ukraine. Russia has asked for guarantee of trust and security from America and its allies. Actually, Russian President Putin does not want Ukraine to be made a member of NATO. Also, he wants to ensure that NATO does not perform any of its activities in Ukraine. On the other hand, the member countries of NATO are planning to build a military training center in Ukraine. Russia is looking at it as a way of strengthening the military of Ukraine. This is the reason why Russia is not accepting any verbal assurance on this and is bent on demanding a legal guarantee for the same. Now the question arises that what is the reason for this sudden increase in tension? An agreement called Minsk Agreement was signed in 2015 to establish peace between the two countries of Russia and Ukraine after Russia had annexed Crimea in 2014. According to this treaty, mediated by France and Germany, the fighting in rebel areas demanding autonomy and succession was to be ended. For this, Ukraine was to give autonomy to the rebel strongholds and amnesty to the rebels. However, Russia alleges that Ukraine has not honored the 2015 peace deal, and Ukraine's supporters have failed in getting Ukraine to implement the terms of the agreement. However, Ukraine blames Russia for treaty's non-implementation. It claims that Russian-backed separatists violated the ceasefire and that Russian troops are still present in the rebel strongholds in the east. Another question which lurks in the background is that why doesn't Russia want Ukraine to join NATO ever? Before understanding this, let us know something about NATO. NATO is an international treaty consisting of 30 countries. It mainly includes countries of North America and Europe. It includes 2 countries from North America, namely United States and Canada, and 28 countries from Europe. Turkey is the only country in this treaty which is spread across both continents of Europe and Asia. It was established in April 1949. Its headquarters are at Brussels, Belgium. It was established with the aim of ensuring collective security of the member states against the erstwhile Soviet Union. Article 5 of the NATO treaty states that if any member of the organization is attacked, then this attack will be considered as an attack on all its members of North America and Europe. Meaning, if any one member of this organization is attacked, then all the other member countries get united in retaliation. Article 5 was implemented when 9/11 attacks were carried out in the US. So when America attacked Afghanistan, the army of NATO countries also participated in the same. This is the reason why in recent years, Ukraine has been continuously trying to get NATO membership. Although Ukraine is not a member of NATO, it remains an ally. However, in order to reap the benefits of Article 5, it will have to acquire the membership. While Ukraine has been trying to become a member of NATO for years, Russia's annexation of Crimea has made it double its efforts for getting the full-fledged membership. The clear factor behind this is that in recent years, on one hand, there has been an increase in military conflicts on the Russia-Ukraine border, and on the other hand, Russia has helped fuel internal tensions in Ukraine by helping separatists. In such a situation, NATO seems to be the only way for Ukraine to safeguard its sovereignty. By now, you must have understood why Russia does not want to see Ukraine becoming a member of NATO. Russia knows that if Ukraine gets NATO membership, it will not succeed in its plan. It will then have to stop its activities against Ukraine, or else NATO countries will become its enemies. If we try to look at it from Russian point of view, we find Russia sees Ukraine joining NATO as a potential threat to its borders and infringement on the center of its sphere of influence. Russia feels that if Ukraine joins NATO, then this security organization might try to further tighten the noose around it. This is the reason why Russia wants guarantee of Ukraine not joining NATO. Now the question is, what will happen if Russia attacks Ukraine? After knowing the whole issue, you can understand that if Russia attacks Ukraine, this war will not remain confined to any one country. It will not only spread across Europe, but it might also lay the foundation for the Third World War. Experts point out that Russia is a strong opponent of America, and that is why America is actively supporting Ukraine in the latest developments. On the other hand, relations between China and America are also tense, while China and Russia share a good friendship. Not only this, situation has also deteriorated after America sidelined Russia and China in the recently held Democracy Summit. In such a situation, if Russia attacks Ukraine, then the US, NATO and China will be forced to intervene. And if this happens, this will mark a new geopolitical upheaval across the world. Moving on to the next story, a referendum was held in New Caledonia recently, which is a French-ruled island group in the South Pacific. The issue of referendum was whether New Caledonia would remain a part of France or will gain independence. In this referendum by ballot paper, 96.49% people voted in favor of remaining with France, while 3.51% people voted for independence. Now, the parties in favor of independence have rejected this referendum. They say that the voters who favored independence did not participate in this voting, and that is why the results are one-sided in favor of France. On the other hand, some people believe that the people who support independence are just the pawns of China. China wants French control over this area to end so that it can take the island under its own control. Therefore, some parties are rejecting this referendum to be held under the Nomia Agreement. Today we will talk about this entire matter. We will also tell you about its historical background. We will understand why China wants to occupy this island. Also with this, we will tell you what is Nomia Agreement. As usual, let's get to the geographical situation of the New Caledonia first. This area of the South Pacific is surrounded by water on its all sides. By looking at the map, we get to know that apart from one main island, there are many small islands as well. It is located to the northeast of Australia, north of New Zealand, and south of Vanuatu. The largest city is its capital. New Caledonia is part of Melanesia in the Pacific Ocean. It also includes countries like Guinea, Solomon, and Fiji. Although France is ruling New Caledonia, but there is a distance of 16,000 kilometers between them. It is believed that British explorer James Cook discovered New Caledonia in 1774. Historically, the ancient Roman Empire referred to a part of Great Britain as Caledonia. Hence, James Cook named the new island New Caledonia. But in 1853, the French ruler Napoleon III conquered this island, and it was used as a prison colony for several decades. Gradually, many separatist groups started growing on this island, and they started demanding independence from France. Then came the 1980s, when violence broke out on the question of freedom. The supporters of freedom and those against it clashed violently. The reason for this was that Djibouti and Vanuatu, which fell in the similar geopolitical sphere, were also French colonies, and referendums were held in Djibouti in 1977 and Vanuatu in 1980. In both these referendums, the local people supported the separation from France. Therefore, the demands for independence grew exponentially in New Caledonia as well. When violence broke out there, the agreement was signed between the French government and the separatist organizations. It was decided that New Caledonia would be given 3 chances to decide on the question of independence from France. A period of 20 years was fixed for the same. However, there was slight delay. The first referendum could only be held in 2018, in which 57% of the people favored staying with France. The second one took place in 2020, in which 53% of the people voted against independence. The same thing happened in the recent referendum, but this time more than 90% of the people supported staying with France. Actually, with the support falling from 57 to 53% in between 2018 and 2020, it was assumed that this time France would lose its rule over this island. But what happened was exactly the opposite to all the hopes and assumptions. Now the question arises, why did this happen? As we mentioned in the beginning itself, the people in the favor of this freedom have rejected this referendum. They allege that those who wanted freedom did not vote at all. In such a situation, the question arises that why didn't the advocates of independence vote? In fact, the parties in the favor of independence had appealed to the like-minded people to boycott this referendum. The reason was that in view of corona pandemic, the separatist parties has demanded the referendum to be postponed to September 22. But the French government turned down this demand. Hence, these parties appealed to boycott the voting. As a result, only 43.9% people exercised their right to vote in the population of around 3 lakh people. Most of them were people who have been advocating for remaining with France. But what is then China's connection with this island? More recently, violent demonstrations took place in Honiara, the capital city of Solomon Islands, a country in the South Pacific region. The protesters demanded that the Solomon's government should end its relationship with China, as China is gradually increasing its economic dominance there. Almost similar is the case with New Caledonia. China has been trying very hard for the last few years to establish its economic supremacy on this island as well. There are 2 reasons behind this. The first reason is that New Caledonia is considered to be very rich in mineral resources. It is famous worldwide for resources like nickel. According to an estimate, about 10% of the world's nickel reserves are present here only. China is eyeing this metal stock as nickel is key ingredient used in electronics manufacturing. Although New Caledonia exports most of its nickel to China, but it will be like an icing on the cake for China if the French hold on this island ends. It can seize Caledonia's natural resources using its debt trap, as it has done with many other countries. A country like Vanuatu, which got separated from France, is de facto being economically controlled by China, and China has invested heavily in this country. The second reason is that this island is very important from a strategic point of view. Countries like Vanuatu and Solomon in the Pacific have already come under the control of China. In such a situation, if China's dominance over New Caledonia is established, then China's hold over Pacific will become even stronger. With this, it will be able to give a tough competition to the Quad. That is why China wants to take this island under its grasp. And that is why it is alleged that people demanding independence from France are actually supporters of China. It should be noted that the Chinese occupation of Ireland would not only hurt the France, but would also hurt the interest of the Quad. Not only the Quad, Australia and New Zealand individually can also face a big challenge. In view of this move of China, France has already spoken about the Delhi-Canberra-Paris alliance. Since the role of New Caledonia has become important for France, in view of strengthening the military and strategic position in the global scenario, it would never want the evil eye of China to fall on this island. Therefore, it is believed that France will work closely with the Quad on this front so that it can weaken the Chinese interference. Moving on to the third story, nations all over the world have their own claims about democracy. Everyone asserts that their democracy is centuries old. However, it cannot be said with certainty that how many countries of the world are completely democratic. There are many reports related to the status of democracy that are published time to time, showing mirror to all the countries on this question. In spite of all these things, no worldwide democracy conference in the name of democracy had been organized so far. But recently, a new initiative by US President Joe Biden brought the countries of the world together in the name of Democracy Summit. Recently, the US organized the Summit for Democracy under its presidency. 110 countries, including India, were invited to attend it. But the summit also got into controversies quickly. America did not invite major countries like Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey to the summit. While China was ignored, Taiwan was invited to the conference, irrespective of the fact that China doesn't consider Taiwan as a separate country, but as its integral part. Therefore, Taiwan has emerged a recent bone of contention between America and China. On one hand, Pakistan did not attend the conference despite being invited, and therefore China has called the former as its real brother. On the other hand, China has called India the pawn of Western countries upon our participation in the Democracy Summit, because from the very beginning, China has been labeling Biden's move as guided by America's quest to maintain its hegemony. So today we will understand what are the implications of Biden's move. Is America really serious about democracy, or has it taken this step just to meet its own goals? We will learn why Russia and China were kept away from this meeting and how the world will face repercussions of this new diplomatic war. But first, let us know all what happened at this summit. In fact, just last month, US President Joe Biden invited 110 countries to discuss democracy, including India. As mentioned earlier, while China was kept away from it, Taiwan was invited. In South Asia too, US sent invitations to India and Pakistan, but kept Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka out of this list. Pakistan President Imran Khan did not attend, but India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended this event. Describing India as a natural democracy, Prime Minister Modi said that democracy in India is only getting stronger over years, and it is rooted in the very nature of its people. He said that India, as the world's largest democracy, is working together with all the allies to strengthen the democracy at every level. He also advocated the utilization of new technologies like those fueling cryptocurrency and social media for empowering the democracy. US President Joe Biden announced a budget of $42.4 million to be spent worldwide to work for strengthening free media and against corruption. He said that this initiative can turn around the rot setting in democracies around the world and will promote the freedom of human beings. He consistently raised the point that America and like-minded allies need to show the world that democracy is a better medium for society than autocracy, without mentioning China and Russia. We have already talked about what happened in the conference. Now let us understand the disputes related to this summit. Actually, America ignored powers like Russia and China in this summit. Therefore, China and the US are standing against each other on this issue. Taking a dig at America's efforts to unite on democracy, China said that democracy is not Coca-Cola, which promises to give the same taste in every corner of the world. According to China, America should respect the path that China has chosen for itself. According to China, Western countries want to restore a unipolar world, but Russia and China cannot be the subordinates to it. China says America should accept and work towards a truly multipolar world. On the other hand, experts are looking at this initiative of America from a different point of view altogether. To emphasize, it was a conference of countries all over the world, but America sent invitation to only 110 countries of the world. In South Asia, America avoided countries like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, while in Europe it did not invite countries like Bosnia and Hungary. Overall, America has called only those countries which it wants to keep in its camp or whom it is confident of getting along with its point of view or whose dispute is going on with China. However, there are some countries which are considered to be allies of China. In such a situation, some experts believe that America only wants to divide the world into democratic and non-democratic countries. If you remember, recently there was a virtual summit between Xi Jinping and Biden, but the meeting remained futile. Now America wants to go full throttle on its attempt to beat China on the diplomatic fronts. It wants to isolate China from other countries of the world. Therefore, this initiative of America is being seen as a part of this strategy. Not only this effort of America is also being seen as its attempt to maintain its supremacy. Actually, Joe Biden is seen to have failed on the foreign front after assuming his chair. Afghanistan is the best example of this. His popularity graph has also dropped. Therefore, he is afraid that the countries of the world may oppose his leadership and China may overtake the US. In such a situation, he is demonstrating his superpowers in front of China through such a conference. Now let us know how the fight between these two will affect the other countries. In fact, US has taken this initiative at a time when tensions between the US and China have been rising. The formation of the Quad to isolate China in the Indo-Pacific region and the US attempt to isolate China in the South Asia and Southeast Asia have soared up tensions between these two countries. In such a situation, by keeping China away from this conference, US has etched this dividing line even deeper. Therefore, it is believed that the tension between America and China may increase further in the coming time. If the tension rises, the countries of the world will be forced to get divided into two camps. As it happens, the poor and the developing countries of both the camps will get crushed in this power struggle. The smaller countries will have to bear the brunt of enmity between the two countries. For example, showing its support to China, Pakistan has avoided this conference. Now, due to it may have to bear the brunt of America's displeasure. Similarly, other countries can also become victims of this scenario. Now you must be wondering that where does India stand in this battle? If you look at this whole matter closely, then you will find that India is proceeding in a calculated way. However, China persists on with its dual character. On one hand, it is elated with India's decision to participate in the Winter Olympic Games, and on the other hand, India's participation in the Democracy Summit seems to it as if India is playing a puppet in the hands of Western powers. China is projecting India as a pawn of an aggressive and deceitful policy of the Western powers. In fact, China can do nothing more than getting frustrated. America has decided to boycott the Winter Olympics in Beijing, where it has also received the support of Australia and Canada. However, India has decided to attend it. That is, India and America have parted ways on this issue, while on the other hand, India has participated in the Democracy Summit. In such a situation, if at the same time India is supporting America on one issue and choosing its own path apart from America on the other issue, then it simply means that India has shown its diplomatic and strategic autonomy. India has shown that it can take its own decisions, and on this front, it will not depend on any partner country. India has shown that having good decisions with any one country does not mean that it will take all its own decisions by following the footsteps of that country in the regional and international affairs. It is a sovereign country and its sovereignty remains intact. Another example of this is India is walking shoulder to shoulder with the US, Japan and the Australia under the Quad in the Indo-Pacific. But when it comes to BRICS, it also takes the initiatives to strengthen its relations with Russia and China. It simply means that India does not confine its relationship to any one group, nor does it want to get confined in it. This was also visible when, despite warnings from America, India maintained its deal with Russia on S-400. Therefore, the provocation of countries like China is not going to have any effect on India. Now let us go through the questions based on the stories we discussed in this episode. 1. What is the main reason behind Russia-Ukraine dispute? Why is it necessary for Ukraine to become a NATO member to avoid Russian attacks? Discuss. 2. Why does China want to strengthen its hold by occupying the French-ruled island group of New Caledonia? Explain any 2 reasons. 3. Is there a possibility of world getting divided into 2 parts due to tensions between America and China on the issue of Democracy Summit? How do you assess India's stand in this conference? Evaluate. That's all for this bulletin. See you in the next episode of Around the World in 7 days next week with a new set of stories that are shaping our world. Stay tuned for more updates.